Welcome to the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority board meeting today. We're happy to have you who are assembled in this room with us, members of the board as well as members of the public, and we're also pleased and welcome members of the public who are joining us via Zoom. So with that, let me introduce ourselves to you. My name is Lowry Snow. I'm one of the co-chairs. Seated to my right is Representative Jordan Tusher, who is the other co-chair. So let's get things underway. This is our August meeting. We're looking back. We didn't have a meeting in July, but since June, there's been some significant progress made on the critical backbone of the infrastructure at the point. And we look forward a little bit later in the meeting to hearing from our director to get an update. So Jefferson, is Jefferson here? Okay. Item number 2 on the agenda is swearing in of a new board member. We're going to delay that until he arrives. He's on his way, and so we'll take that matter up later. Can't get this mic to stay down. I guess that will keep me sitting up here straight and not sleeping. There we go. So going on to number 3, it relates to the first matter, which is the swearing in of a new member. And that's to recognize one of our members who is, as they say, rolling off the board. And I want to say a few words about April Cooper. April is here with us, and we're going to give her further recognition in a minute. But before we do that, I want please all of you to know that April and I go back to day one, don't we, April? With the very first meeting of this body, she was on the initial board, and I don't know how many years ago that is. Probably 7 years ago, something like that. And she has just been a tremendous asset and made great contributions to the work of this board. She's been invaluable. She brought background, and she brings background and experience that has helped in a lot of the decisions that we've made and a lot of the progress that we've reached, milestones, including the selection of our private sector development partner, the negotiation and signing of the disposition and development agreement, and most recently, the hiring of our current director, Michael Ombre. So with that, April, with that review of your history on the board and recognizing all that you've done, would you come forward? We've got a little something for you as you move off the board, something that you can remember your service and remember us. You want us to come in front? Okay. Senator Stevenson. I'm going to turn on your mic, and I think you want to say a few words.
Thank you very much. You know, April, I've had opportunity to serve on I don't know how many boards in the last, but it's a lot. And I certainly wish that everyone I had opportunity to serve with had the consistency and the knowledge that you bring to a board. That's not always the case. I think everyone up here, we certainly have a wonderful board right now and a very knowledgeable board, but that just doesn't come by accident. I mean, I think you were handpicked to help direct this project. So thank you so much for your service and what you've done for the state of Utah.
Thank you, Senator. Anyone else before I turn a few minutes to April? Mayor Ramsey.
I also want to say thank you. It's been a privilege. Had the chance to serve with you since day one as well on this. And April has put so much time, and your private sector expertise has been very valuable in this process. You've worked hard and you've done a lot. And the state of Utah, this project owes a great debt of gratitude to April Cooper for all of the time she spent on this. Just thank you. Appreciate you and all your good work that you've done. Thanks. Been a privilege to serve with you.
Thank you, Mayor Ramsey. I'm going to go to April now. I think your microphone is on. And if you'd care to say a few words, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to reiterate that it's been a pleasure serving with all of you. It's been fun. I appreciate Governor Herbert back in 2018 when he appointed me to the board, and Don and Jerry and I and Troy and Lowry have been to a lot of meetings together over the years, and then the board's changed a little bit. It was great the years that we put Alan at the helm to kind of get the first few years going. I'm really excited for Michael to take over. I think he's got great skills and knowledge and experience, and it's going to take us to kind of the next level. It's been really fun. We know it's all a multi-generational project, so it's been really fun to be able to be part of the formation and what's going to go forward in that area. So, and I'm really glad most of all to come away with friends and I thank like Governor Cox for reappointing me. I think it's just been a really good experience, and I've been really happy to represent citizens. I know sometimes there's a little bit of press out there that people don't understand exactly what's going on, or they'll make up ideas about what's going on there, but really it's going to be a really successful project and bring things to Utah like events and housing, and everybody's been really cognizant of transportation issues or air pollution issues. So I think it's going to turn out to be a really successful project, and I'm excited to see it going forward. So thanks to all of you.
Thank you, April, and best of luck with you and success, everything that you do from here on out.
Thank you.
All right. We're still, I believe, waiting for Jefferson. Okay. Let's go to the next item on our agenda. This is item number 4, public comment. This is an item that appears on all of our agendas. This is a reminder that the point is a public project, and as a board, we have a responsibility to ensure that this project reflects public values and provides an opportunity for public input. We value that input from residents, and we welcome public comment as long as it follows the procedures in the agenda. So let's start with anyone here in the room wishing to take advantage of public comment. I don't see any hands or anyone coming forward. On our virtual list, it looks like we have one individual, Mr. Wasman, Alexander, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If you can hear me, if you would unmute yourself, or we will, and we'll turn some time to you for your comment. If you'd restate your name, and if you represent anyone, let us know that. Alexander? Excuse me. Please unmute your microphone, Alexander. No. All right. Well, let's move on to the next matter. And if he speaks up later, we may try to accommodate him. Next matter on the agenda, item number 5, is to consider approving the minutes of our last meeting held June 11th, 2025. I think each of you have received a hard copy of those minutes. As always, we express appreciation to Cece for your help in preparing those minutes and also getting them to the board to consider approving each time we meet. So with that, the chair would accept a motion to approve the minutes of June 11th meeting. Do I hear a motion? So moved, Mayor Walker. Do I have a second? Second from Mayor Wilson. All in favor of the motion to approve the minutes of June 11th, 2025, please say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is, let's do this. You have on your agenda an item that is marked as item number 10. I'm going to, as co-chair conducting today, I'm going to ask that we move item number 10 up to take the place, at least in terms of the space on the agenda, and consider that matter now. Unless I'm hearing an objection, we will invite Steve Mayer, our attorney, one of our attorneys for the point, to come forward, and he will provide the board with a review of the lease takedown process. As the development of the point moves forward, the Land Authority Board may soon, very soon, be involved in one of our first takedowns of property for leasing. So we've invited Steve, our legal counsel, to review that process with the board and to the public if they're interested in that. So Steve, we'll turn the time to you for your presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've been asked to take a few minutes to review the takedown process with the board. So this is a significant portion of our development agreement that we negotiated with our developer. And essentially, it's the process for, well, as an example, you use local jurisdictions. This is how a project gets worked through staff, planning commission, and then ultimately a council. And so we folded all of those 3 processes into an agreement with our developer. And you each have in front of you a flow chart that looks a little bit scary of how that process comes about. For the board, what's particularly important are the top 5 boxes that you see and the bottom 3. Everything in the middle is really what's provided for in the development agreement to resolve concerns as it comes through in this approval process. So if you think a staff, a planning staff or a city staff coming together and reviewing a project that comes to them, that's equivalent to the first box up on the top left, the pre-lease discussion. The developer's required to come and present a proposed takedown. All right, and so within their requirements, we've built, this board has built in certain things that the developer has to comply with in order for any takedown to be considered. Within those requirements, there's the proposed lease area. So I remind everyone, we're talking about phase 1 and taking a parcel down in phase 1 and ultimately getting to a long-term ground lease. That's essentially what's happening in this process. And so in order to even propose a takedown or a ground lease, the developer has to propose the lease area, has to come to us with the lease value and the lease rent. They have to propose those terms to us and show how they got to them. They also have to prove up to our staff in this first box how the takedown is consistent with our design guidelines. So essentially, this board has adopted certain requirements that the developer has to meet. The developer then comes and shows to staff how they've met those requirements. So that's the first box. If they've met those requirements and are looking to proceed, they then move to that second box on the top right. That's an official review notice. This is essentially submitting an application to this board through staff for an official review of that takedown. So they provide all of those pre-lease discussion materials, really the rent, the area, how it is consistent with the design guidelines. And then this is the key point. What our development agreement does is it has these prerequisites. The developer cannot come to us unless they've already satisfied what you have required them to satisfy. If they do, and if they have satisfied those requirements, then they present the review notice, and then we have 60 days to review and approve. What's wonderful about the process is that approval is contingent only upon certain things. They've already had to satisfy everything that you've required them to do. They have to check the boxes. If they do, and the board would like to approve it, because, well, if they do, then it's an automatic approval. It's pretty simple to go through because they've already done everything you've asked them to do. If they have not, if there's a deviance in the rent or in the design guidelines, this board still has the discretion at that point. So on your paper, I'm on the land authority objects portion. We can come back and object, or we can come back and we can approve. You have the authority to approve even if they do not meet those standards that you have already put forth. Okay, and so the middle section is what's required for the developer to go through, the timing, the additional information that they need to give us if you decide that you would like to approve possibly a project that doesn't meet those prerequisites. If they do not meet the prerequisites and it gets to an official review notice, then the land authority may disapprove, and then there is a dispute resolution process in the development agreement. If the developer disputes our rejection and argues that we did not follow the requirements of the development agreement, then that goes to the dispute resolution. So it's really the idea of the process was to make it as front-loaded as possible for the developer. They understand the requirements this board has adopted and may adopt those requirements. And then if they do comply, then it is a simple process to get down to a ground lease. Ultimately, after the requirements have been satisfied, really those top two boxes, and the land authority approves, you move down to an exercise notice. The developer still has to follow certain requirements in order to notice up the official takedown, and then the ground lease is entered into. And the ground lease has further requirements the developer needs to follow, has construction requirements and commencement of rent. And so that's all established in the form of the ground lease. So this looks a little scary on what you're looking at on paper, but really this is how the developer must comply with the timelines. And if they do satisfy the prerequisites that this board has set, then the takedown process for phase one should be pretty simple for them to move forward through. Any questions?
Thanks, Steve. Any questions from board members? All right. You did a good job on this flow chart, Steve. It's pretty complex. And I think as far as I'm concerned, having been somewhat involved in the negotiations for the development agreement, a lot of this, I think, was put in place to avoid disputes that have to move to litigation, that have to move to the next stage, that oftentimes you see happen in contests over provisions of the lease. And I think much of this is to help the parties to avoid that. Even though you wouldn't say this looks streamlined, I think it is streamlined in terms of dealing with those kinds of issues. So thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. Oh, let me turn.
Continuing legal education. So a review of this particular flow chart and submit that to the bar.
I think we could apply for that and see if we couldn't get approval
Might
from.
be a full hour, depending on where you get stuck.
It
in the
could.
box. Good
That-
work, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor Walker.
That just told me how long you attend those sessions to go. I'd get an hour credit, so. That looks like, okay, thanks, Mayor Wilson. Now, Steve, before you leave, or jump up from the table, I think the board recognizes that our 5 years with you and legal counsel J.C. Skinner, and I hope J.C.'s online with us, is wrapping up. And this may be one of the last presentations from you, and I know this was worked on extensively by J.C. as well. We don't want you to leave this room without recognizing all of your contributions and the contributions of J.C. On this project in the last 5 years. Your work has been amazing, and I have to tell you, having been in the trenches, so to speak, with some of the work with the negotiations, this has not been easy. This is challenging work. We just want you to know how much we appreciate your service and the service of J.C. as well, both of you. And just don't want you to leave without having heard that and let you know how much we appreciate you. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much.
All right. Representative Moss, or I want to say Representative Moss still, like you're still in the House body. You have joined us, and we'll go back to item number 2 of our agenda. Jefferson was tied up with another matter and so arrives a little bit late, but we are excited to have you back on this body, on this board. So with that, what we'd like to do is take care of swearing in, but to lay a little bit of a foundation for that. Jefferson is also serving as the executive director of the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, GOEO, we call it. When I was on that board, it was GOED, but now a different title and maybe a bit of a different mission. But that's a big job, and I can't tell you, at least in my opinion, how well the work you do there as director dovetails with what we're trying to accomplish on this project. So I think I understand the thinking of the governor wanting to get you back on this board. On July 23rd, Governor Cox notified Representative Tusher and myself of the reappointment of Jefferson back on this Land Authority Board. Truly a familiar face to everyone on this board and to the public as well. And as I've said, I think we're lucky to have you now on this board, but also filling the position of director of GOED. And you bring a lot. And I want to also mention, it's my understanding, and if I'm wrong, you correct me, but you still fulfill a role with higher ed as well. And particularly in the area of innovation. So bringing those 3 roles together and bringing all of that brings to the work that we do here, I think is going to be invaluable. So welcome. With that, we're going to ask Cece to swear you in. You can stand where you are, and I'll get a microphone on for Cece, and she can swear you in.
I'm sure you've done this many times,
Excuse me.
haven't you?
Wait, I apologize. Let me get your mic on there. If you can tell me, Jefferson, when it
on.
lights.
Yep, it's lit.
Okay.
Ready? I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Jefferson, and again, welcome. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for those nice words, Chair. And I've really appreciated the long history we've had together. It's been fun. I was sad when I left the legislature for some reasons, but also excited to be in a new role where I can continue to serve with this group. Yeah, I just wanted to add, this is a high priority for me with GOEO. This as well as the port and some of the other things that we're doing in the state. I want to see a much more elevated engagement with GOEO. So we've already been working closely with my team of how we're going to be more actively involved in this in terms of how we're going out to recruit companies, working closely with the developers. We've already had some good conversations and then supporting this board. So I'm really excited about that. And then on the nucleus role, which is kind of the innovation side, it was actually I would only take the job if I could continue to do that, because there's some things there that we're doing that I'm really excited about and I think are going to be very complementary with this project. I think, again, we've talked about this the whole time, but being one of the largest innovation hubs, kind of the driver of a lot of the commercialization, things we're doing around the deep tech, AI, I just see so many opportunities to really leverage this development and make it an amazing thing. And so I'm excited in both of those roles to continue to serve on this board. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Jefferson, and we likewise are excited. So with the agenda, we're going to now take up item number 7 on the agenda, which is to consider appointing by nomination and vote additional new members to serve on our Finance and Audit Committee. April, now that she departs off the board, she was a member of that committee along with Michael, our director, and who else? And Don. So we're prepared today to the chairs to recommend some changes there. As we look to the future, it's going to be important that we have these voices on that committee to help oversee the fiscal issues, the audits, to make sure that all monies that are appropriated to us are used properly. That's in addition to the state audits that are required. This is kind of an internal oversight. It's an important role. And I believe that we have, with April moving on, I think we have some additional names or some new names that we would like to present. So with that, if it's okay with you, Jordan, I'm going to turn some time to you to talk about those names and make a motion.
Well, thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, and really appreciate the great work that's been done in the past. These committees, these subcommittees are so important to the work that we do, and in preparing for these meetings so that we can move through our agenda quickly and have assurance that the finer details have been looked through and have been appointed. So with that, we received the recommendation and have had conversations with the individuals that would move to this, and that would be Mayor Walker and Mayor Ramsey moving to that committee, and then also our good executive director, Michael Ambray. And so that's our intent. And so I'd like to make that motion that we appoint these 3 individuals to the committee.
Thank you, Representative. Do I have a second? 2 seconds. It's pretty close to the wire, but I'm going to give it to Senator Stevenson if that's okay. And with that, we'll, before we take a vote, I'd like to leave some time for any discussion on the motion from any of the board members. Okay, we'll place that motion for a vote. The motion before us is to appoint Mayor Walker and Mayor Ramsey, along with our director as new members of our Finance Committee for this board. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. I'll rule the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mayor Ramsey and Mayor Walker, for your willingness to assist in that important role. With that, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a financial update. Uh, Where is Don? Oh, okay. So we'll turn the time to our Director of Operations, Don Willie. We, as I've kind of alluded to, we recognize the trust placed by the public to ensure that Land Authority funds are appropriated and spent in a manner consistent with our approved budget. With that, we'll turn time now to Don to review our budget with us, where we stand, and bring up any other financial issues we need to discuss. Thanks, Don.
Thank you, Chair Snow. As a reminder, this serves as both our June report and our year-end report. So what you'll see is a combination of the two. And as I go through this, I'll go in a little more detail than I do on a monthly, given that it is our year-end. But pleased to see that we've come in under budget on pretty much every category across the board. It also, as we prepared our FY26 budget, we looked at the forecasting and were more and added some more scrutiny to some of these budget lines to ensure that we're using these tax dollars efficiently and effectively. So as you can see on the far right column, the percent remaining, we should be at 0. We should have fully expended our budget. You'll see that across the board, we're under budget in nearly every category. A few that I just want to note are contractual services that we were near spending completely on that budget. We've adjusted that, of course, moving into FY26. We have adjusted our professional and technical budget as well. We were at 42% on that. So use just about 60% of that budget line. We've made that modification as well. And as we go down to the newer items that came in near the end of the fiscal year, the utilities for electrical and utilities for water. As you may recall, we had to make a budget amendment. We didn't change the overall amount of the budget. We just did some line item amendments here. That accommodated for charges that had previously been incurred by DFCM that are now moved to one of the mountains. So we paid either way, it's just now recognized within our budget. So that we anticipated the cost. We were at pretty much at the amount there. As we move down, I just want to call your attention specifically to under the capital expenditures as well. These were new items near the end of the fiscal year that we needed to accommodate for land acquisitions and improvements. As you may recall, on the improvements that was kicked to FY26, we moved it to our FY25 budget, anticipating that we'd have that expense. That has moved to our FY26 budget. So that is why we have 100% of that budget remaining. And then on the land acquisition, this is the only area of the budget that we went over, just over by 6,000 on that line. That was purely due to the timing of closing the transaction. As you know, with real estate transactions, timing will change the amount that is due at closing. And so just as a result, it was slightly higher than what we anticipated. So of the budgeted 2.275 million, it came out actually to 2.281 million. So just an overage of $6,000 on that transaction. With that though, we ended the year with 60% of our budget, just under 60% of our budget remaining. And again, as I mentioned, we've adjusted our FY26 budget with heightened scrutiny to bring us closer in line with what we anticipate our actual expenses to be.
Thank you, Don. A very positive and impressive report. Let's see if there are questions from board members. So my eyesight isn't great, but just in summary, what categories did we go over other than property acquisition? Just a quick summary.
That was the only line that we went
That was
over.
the only one.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't need to have good eyesight, that's an impressive record. Any other comments or questions for Don? All right. This is on the agenda for action. This is kind of an important action item because we will consider approving the year-end report. So with that, the co-chair would entertain a motion to that extent to approve the year-end accounting for 2025, at least to this point. It's actually the fiscal year-end. So moved by Troy Walker, Mayor Walker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Tusher. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. I rule the motion carries unanimously. Thanks again, Don, for your work.
Do you mind if I make one more comment?
Certainly.
Just for the information of the board, every year we do conduct an audit with the auditor's office. They do a review of our financials. We are currently working with them. We typically have that in September completed to bring to before the board, but we just wanted to let you know that that is underway. And we look forward to that presentation by their office.
Thank you for that information. Next item on the agenda is item number 9. This is the director's report. Our executive director, Michael Lambre, will provide a progress update. We continue to see significant progress at the site with the backbone and infrastructure development moves forward. There's much more than that happening. So with that, Mike, we'll turn the time to you.
Thank you, Co-Chair. As you mentioned, there's a lot of activity on site with the backbone infrastructure. Also, packages 1 and 3, the water tank and the transmission lines are very close to being approved by Draper City, and we anticipate bidding those in the next few weeks when they do get approved. And also the bridge over River to Range, UDOT, it's in UDOT's court right now for review, and as soon as they complete their review, we'll put that out for bid as well. I'm very happy and proud to announce that we did close on PID 1 for the bond issuance for the entertainment venue and the infrastructure for the promenade area. Draper's interlocal agreement is in the final edits. I think when we get those final edits complete, the next step would be to put it in front of the Draper City Council to adopt. Palmsla, Drapers, and Jordan Valley Water District have been working to draft an agreement that would provide water to the site. We've also agreed to reassign the water shares and rights to Jordan Valley Water District as well. So as soon as we get the interlocal in place, the next step is to sign that agreement over. I'm also proud to announce that we've hired a new admin assistant, Jen Morrill. We're very happy to have her on board. She's already stepped in and contributed a bunch. It's kind of amazing when you realize how badly you needed help. So welcome, Jen. We also put an RFP out, as you mentioned, Co-Chair Lowry, earlier, that our legal services were up. It's been 5.5 years. And so we put an RFP out and went through a selection process, and we have hired, we're hoping to hire new legal counsel. Lowry sat on that committee, and we selected Parsons, Bailey, and Lattimore. I believe that's on the agenda for action, so I'll leave it at that. We also went through an RFQ process to select a third-party engineering consultant to assist Draper and Palmsla for plan review, quality assurance, quality control, compliance. And so we're in contract negotiations now. Palmsla is working with a land advisory company to strategize about the best approach for this 50-acre for-sale product that we've brought to your attention. And I believe there's a resolution to adopt later in the meeting as well. We are also studying the cost levies for various amenities, some of which are the transit district, the master association, which would be the landscape maintenance, smart city technologies, to name a few. I'd also like to mention that Steve, our director over planning, has put a lot of effort into putting costs to these and narrowing, the items down to what's reasonable. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up is, as we've moved through this project, it's become clear that because the title is held in DFCM's name, everything needs to be signed by DFCM, and it's becoming, I wouldn't say complicated, but I would definitely say it would simplify things if we change title. So I might bring that back to the board in next month after we can talk that through and see what that looks like from a legal standpoint. Anyway, it's just, when we're issuing easements or taking down ground leases, it seems like Palms is the authority and it would make more sense if Palms own the land. So with that, that's my update.
Thank you, Mike. Questions for Mike? Comments? Well, I have a comment to make, given his presentation of all that he is overseeing, all that is being done. It's no wonder that he needed an assistant, Jen, to help him. There's a lot going on. When you look at all that's been accomplished, or at least has been moved forward since our last meeting, it's remarkable. And I hope it's okay if we also pay tribute to his staff. Nick is here, Don is here. They're all invaluable. And Jen, I know they're going to put you to good use helping as well. So with that, and as kind of a prelude, not a prelude, but as a follow-up of what Mike mentioned, the item number 12 on the agenda. I apologize. We need to go back to item number 10 now that we passed over, which is a really important matter. Item number 10 is to consider proposed changes to the framework plan to accommodate for sale housing. Mike mentioned his report that we've identified a 50-acre parcel that we anticipate being used for residential housing. The Utah legislature, in creating the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority, offered guiding principles and goals to guide the development of the site. Two of the goals pertinent to this matter on the agenda are to ensure strategic residential and commercial growth, and also facilitate vibrant urban centers and housing types that match the workforce needs. In line with those goals, the Land Authority Board will consider today an amendment to the framework plan that allows the development for sale housing in a designated area of the site. So, Mr. Director, we'll turn the time back to you to talk about what this amendment needs to look like and why it's important.
Yeah, if I can get your attention to the screen. So the colored area that's sort of yellow and orange and maybe burnt, I don't know, some kind of orange color, that's the 50 acres in question. This has always been contemplated to be a residential area on the site, but it was going to be a for rent. As we move through this project and we've heard from the governor and other people that we need housing. We need for sale housing. And so we found, this is a great opportunity to do that. What we would like to do is engage with various consultants to help us through this process and to be efficient, to understand the market and what best would sell and what's needed in the market as well. And so basically the resolution is for us to just move forward to change the framework plan.
Thank you. I believe everyone has received a hard copy of the resolution in your packet. And as the director says, that the purpose of the resolution is to move forward with this amending the resolution so we can put details to and move forward with the description and marketing of this 50-acre parcel to potential developers. Let me ask you this, we've lost our legal counsel. I know traditionally, we have to read these resolutions. We've done that in the past. Well, we have precedent then. So with that, I'm going to read the proposed resolution into the record, and then we will consider a motion and taking action afterwards. This resolution is titled the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority Board Resolution, approving amendment to the framework plan to include approximately 50 acres of owner-occupied housing, Resolution 2025 06. Whereas consistent with Utah Code annotated 1159-202-16, the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority is authorized to enter into a development agreement for some or all of the Point of the Mountain State land as defined in Utah Code 1159-1026. Whereas consistent with Utah Code annotated 1159-2026, the Land Authority is authorized to sell, convey, grant, dispose of by gift any interest in real property for some or all of the authority land. Whereas in August of 2021, the Land Authority approved a framework plan for the development of the authority land. Whereas the Land Authority has determined that consistent with its duties and responsibilities outlined in Utah Code annotated 1159-203, it is in the best interests of the authority and the state of Utah to amend the framework plan to include approximately 50 acres of owner-occupied housing. Now therefore, the board of the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority, by the authority vested to it by the laws of the state of Utah, does hereby resolve the following. 1, the Land Authority Board directs the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority staff to proceed to engage appropriate consultants to develop plans to amend the framework plan to include approximately 50 acres of owner-occupied housing. And 2, the Land Authority Board directs the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority staff to proceed with shaping an RFP to engage a development partner to proceed with construction of owner-occupied housing as outlined. In witness whereof, I certify the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority Board did approve and pass this resolution on this blank day of August 2025, which will be signed by the co-chair depending on the outcome of a motion to approve this resolution. Sorry to read that so fast. One of my prior jobs was I used to read the side effects of certain medications after the commercials on the radio. Sorry, that's all I could think of while I was reading that. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms, anyway.
So, Mr. Chair, you're the only one of us who likes the 60-second,
Yeah.
like 90-second long commercial.
Yeah, exactly, to get it in there, to fit it in. Okay. So with that, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the framework plan as read to you and included in the resolution, said resolution.
I move that we approve the resolution.
Let's, if you can hold the question, let's see if we get a second. Motion is to approve the resolution 2025-06. Do I have a second?
Second. Oh,
Second by Mayor Wilson. Discussion on the motion, going back to Mayor Walker. Let me get you a mic on. There you go.
I mean, I think it's a great opportunity to do more ownership, hopefully at a level that's, well, yeah, I guess affordable to some degree, or at least maybe some of it will be what you would consider a starter opportunity for young people to get a condo or a townhome or a single family home, whichever it is. With respect to the design standards, are we looking to keep it at the level of density of the point?
I'm going to turn time to our director.
Because I
if
think
you
we
wouldn't mind.
should keep it to that, at least that level of density.
So we've reached out to a land advisor, right? And we've asked what current market conditions are appropriate. And currently the framework plan is more dense than what we would change it to go to a for sale product. We would target about 8 units to 20 units per acre. Instead of, I think the original framework plan, and Steve's probably on, is closer to 35 units per acre.
So we just approved a stationary plan density of 26 to 28 units an acre.
You're talking about the city.
Our city, Draper City, we just recently did it, and it's all for sale, owned, deed restricted, it's townhomes, condos. I mean, I think we should at least hit that 27 to 30 units an acre, somewhere in there. I mean, there's a market for it. I can tell you, we just approved one. So, I mean, I think we should at least look at that level of a density, at least in that 25 units an acre.
Thank you. I think I'm safe to say, and Michael, you correct me, but I think when we actually boil down and get details on an RFP, I believe that we'll let the board weigh in on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
So that's a really good comment. And I think density is probably one of the most important parts of this process. And so we'll make sure that it comes back. But we appreciate your input, Mayor. Mayor Wilson, I think you have your hand up.
It's just an additional point sort of related to Mayor Walker's. I think, you know, we've got rental and then we have some ownership, which is awesome. I think that was so necessary. But having a blend both ways would be good. Rental higher end, rental more density, same mix on this as well, I think is important because then you're expanding your markets, you're creating more of a true community feel. But I would rely on when it comes down to the next phase of approvals, as just mentioned, some subject expertise on this so we get that right balance.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor Wilson. Mayor Ramsey, you have your light on.
Thank you. My question was also about, I was going to refer to it as zoning, but essentially it's the density because that is not spelled out in this. And the resolution says that we are telling staff to hire somebody to make an agreement to do this, but the number of units per acre matters. It matters. And I'm wondering when for sure that gets decided. And is it this body that decides that? Is it the City of Draper that decides that? I'm not sure because this is an amendment to the development agreement that we had. For sale product. Did you say for sale detached product?
So there'll be multiple product types and we're
Okay.
kind of exploring those product types now. It might be single family detached, it might be townhomes, it might be stacked flats. That's exactly what we're kind of asking to move forward with. Let us at least gather some information, bring it back to this board and make a recommendation.
It feels to me like approving kind of a broad brush, which I'm mildly hesitant about because some of these details are critical and I kind of like to understand or have us decide some of them a little sooner. That being the case, as long as there is a commitment that those decisions will be made here, we'll get to talk about it. We'll come to those decisions. I don't want to just approve a broad brush and then find out, well, this is what they're building. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We need more information than that.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
So yeah, the intent here is that we would, with our land advisor partner and Steve Kellenberg, our director over planning, put together an RFP. And then we would invite the board members, whoever wants to participate in that selection. It would be a lot like we did with TPP. You guys would be involved and we would see the different plans that come forth and our options at that point. And it wouldn't just be staff that would move this forward.
I got one other comment. I have some experience with what Mayor Ramsey's talking about. Where Front Runner currently stops in Draper City, it's a 110-acre parcel. And I was a council member when we did this, and I thought I was being really smart. Turned out I wasn't, but I thought I was. I thought it was one of those light bulb moments. We zoned that 110 acres, unlimited height, unlimited density. I think it was the first one in the country, and we did it. And I thought, they're going to build big buildings over here. This is what they'll, the only thing hampering the developers, if you listen to them, is city zoning restriction, density restrictions. So that was an unlimited zone, still is. And all we got there, and I'm not complaining, but all we got were 5-story office buildings and a 4-story for rent apartment complex. Now, the hard part about that is we cities take a fair beating at the legislature and other spots for all of the problems that we supposedly cause for home ownership, home development. When you have an unlimited zone and you have a developer go build what they make money at, but it's a lot less dense than you were expecting, and then they want to transport that same density to another area, like it's a single family area, that causes my brain to start boiling a little bit. And so my worry is we're going to do this. We're obviously selling this property to generate some revenue for the point, but we can't take the position, let the developers figure it out, because if we do, we're going to get less dense than what we should get on the point. And that's just my worry, because I've just watched it happen. And, and now, for example, that 110 acres had a tax assessed value before we zoned it, unlimited height and density, of about $6 million. Its tax assessed value now is almost 800 million. So, I mean, I really can't complain that much, but I thought they'd build 10-story buildings. I thought they'd build a 10-story apartment complex. They didn't. So that's just my concern. If it's got to be a minimum density if we're going to do it, because we will get pushback from the public, and I'll get it from my community. If they say, look, Mayor, you just approved 26 units an acre over here and you're going to go 18 over here in the point. So I
Right.
just want to be cognizant of that because I've lived that dream. So if I could do it again, instead of unlimited, I would have set minimum densities in that zone.
Thanks, Mayor. And let me just say, that's why I'm glad you're on this board. You know, you bring that experience, all of you bring a wealth of experience. Mayor Ramsey leading city, all of you, and it's going to be helpful. And let me also say, I believe it's the position of the chair, and I'm going to say, I believe the co-chairs, that when we get right down to the fine point of defining what these limitations will be, what the guidelines will be before that goes out for RFPs bidding and that sort of thing, you all have a chance to weigh in. And we want you to weigh in. We want your input. The other thing, Mayor Ramsey, you brought up, and we're still working on that, and that is how we coordinate this with Draper City. Because this still lies within Draper City at the end of the day, and this will no longer, at some point, not be leasehold interests. These will be fee title interests, which means it's a little different than being able to oversee leasehold commercial interests and even leasehold our rental unit issues. So we have to work through those issues as well. It's kind of complex, but I'm convinced that we can get there. So, but all of that, I think, has to be ironed out. Mayor Ramsey?
I appreciate the conversation and the answers that we don't maybe have all the answers yet, but all of that work will be done. That being said, and I'm reading this, Don brought me over the resolution right here. I will be comfortable approving this, knowing that there's a lot of fine tuning and a lot of these questions that we are going to have to work through and answer. And it's complex. It is. This is a unique project, and I understand that. So I appreciate all the work that's been done with it, and we'll just continue to plow through and get all these things figured out so we make sure we get them right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And it's everything that you said, but also just if you look at the land size, what it's taking. It's a significant piece. Someone shut off my mic. They didn't like what I was saying.
Aren't you?
I think I was talking too fast.
And
But-
just finally, like, if what we're trying to do, we're trying to generate some revenue for the point, we need to get the most money we can get. So it's got to be the most valuable property we can.
It does.
And the developers are going to do what they always do. They're going to build what makes money because that's what they do. And so they might come in and say, this is what we can make money at today. Well, we got to make sure. I mean, I'm for this ownership. I think it's great, but I want it to be big, and I don't want it to be, it can't be 15 units an acre or something. They
No.
tell you, oh, this is only, I just.
And in my opinion, it's got to be something that moves. It's
Right.
got to create momentum, not stall. So we still have a motion, just a reminder, we have a motion on the table. More comments to the motion, Senator Stevenson.
Yeah, just So I guess just my comment is, I'm sure we can accommodate that. But as we look at the overall project, we're really looking at approving more than just the units that will go into residential housing. So then we just be conscious of that because we'll use up other property in making sure that we can provide services. And this may not be all the housing that ends up on that project as we move forward. There may be additional that we'll have to have. So, thank you.
Thanks for those words, Senator. Wilson, did you have?
I'm good.
Okay.
Stage, thank you.
Oh, Representative Tusher.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, and appreciate the comments here. I just want to speak in favor of the motion.
Here comes that. Mr. O'Malley, Mr. Kellenberg, how are you guys doing?
Thanks, Steve. I was just going to say two things. I think something that's really important, and we've been talking, really since Michael came on about, how quickly can we get some for sale product in this area? We need to move forward with it. And obviously there's, a lot of precursors that had to happen for us to get to the point that we're at today. But the change in the framework plan, I think, makes a lot of sense, really for two reasons. One, we see the market the way it is right now. When the framework plan was developed 7 years ago or so, we were in a different state, right? The commercial was booming. We needed more space there. It was in a different place. Right now, the market forces are where they are, where the number one thing that we need in the state is housing, and not just any housing. We need for sale housing that people can get their arms around. And I think when we talk about whether it's affordable housing or not affordable housing, and this is really expensive property. It's not going to be the most affordable property in the state, but any increase in housing anywhere helps across the board to reduce housing prices across the state. And so as we look at ensuring that there's places for our children and grandchildren to be able to live somewhat close to the valley, it's important that we prioritize for sale property. And I think that's important for the state to show that as an example of this is something that we're going to invest in. So I really appreciate the direction that we're going. But then two, just Mayor Walker's kind of referenced this, but from a practical perspective, Pomsla doesn't really have any revenue coming in, aside from a little bit of lease property that we get in. And so when things come up, like we need, a different water line, or we need to acquire property over here, we don't have any funds to go back and pay for those things. And so what this allows us to do is give a lot more flexibility in the project, to have, a base of capital that then can go back and be reinvested in this project to ensure that all of the other great goals and objectives that we have, that we can meet without having to go back to the state with our palm open and continue to take money from the general fund. So with those reasons in mind, I'm very supportive of moving forward in this direction.
Thank you, Representative Tusher. Good comments. Jefferson, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just a quick one. I appreciate the comments, and I also recognize that many of us have been through a lot of battles in local city councils and planning commissions. And so we know what those discussions are like. I was having a little PTSD when we were looking through this chart today. No, I agree with the perceptions that have been raised. I think we do want to make sure we do this right. I also hope that we're not being overly, I think there's some opportunity here to be a little innovative and try some things that maybe we couldn't normally do. The state has some discretion over this land. And I think there are some opportunities to do some things that maybe are not normally being used in other parts of the state. And so I just hope we don't lose looking outside the box at other potential things, meeting what the market needs. Obviously, we want to get a good return for the state, but exploring maybe things that haven't been explored before. I think there's some things we should be considering.
Thank you, Jefferson. In fact, in discussions we've had that I've been involved with some of our consultants, Steve, and also this other consultant that we may be asking for help, that very issue has been brought up by our director and by others, and that is, let's not lose sight of the fact that we can use this process and this project to maybe set standards in the state for a different look, a different way of approaching these things. We intend, or we hope there will be some creative approaches to this that maybe haven't been used or haven't been considered. So good comments. Other comments from the board before we place this for a vote? Not seeing any lights or any hands, I'm going to place the motion for vote. The motion before us is to approve the resolution which will amend the framework plan to include approximately 50 acres of owner-occupied housing. That resolution has been reduced to writing, and in front of you is known as Resolution 2025-06. All in favor of that motion to approve that resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. and the resolution is approved. So with that going on to the next item on the agenda, we're now down to item number 12, which is to consider legal services change pursuant to an RFP recommendation and a process. With that, Don, we'll turn the time back to you, our operations chief, to review the process and the recommendations of those folks who worked on that.
Thank you, Chair Snow. I'm pleased to review this process with the board. As was indicated earlier, our 5-year contract was up with Ballard Spar, and we opened that as an RFP to ensure that we could remain competitive and have the right individuals, the right legal counsel for this stage of the project. We issued this RFP on June 17th with the due date of July 10th. We received 6 responses to the RFP, and at that point moved forward with the selection review committee that reviewed all 6 of those, or ensured that every submittal was reviewed by multiple individuals on the selection review committee, and then invited the 3 finalists to interview with that committee. We, in the initial scoring, we looked at 4 different categories, 5 different categories, I apologize. First was demonstrated experience in relevant legal areas. That was weighted at 40% of the score. Quality and clarity of response, which was weighted at 10% of the score. Experience with similar concepts and complex land acquisitions, development transactions, dispositions, and leases in the state of Utah. That was weighted at 30%. Proposed approach and understanding of Palmsla's needs at 10, and the cost at 10 as well. These categories were reviewed and considered by each member of the committee. We did, of the 6 that were reviewed, we did have 1 candidate that scored in the top 3 that ultimately withdrew due to conflict of interest. And so the top 3 candidates scoring wise that were invited to interview with the selection committee were Parsons Bailey Latimer, Parr Brown, and Ballard Spar was selected to interview as well. The committee had a chance to meet with each of these firms. We were impressed, of course, with their quality and experience. And ultimately, the committee decided from that to move Parsons Bailey Latimer forward for consideration by the board. This consideration would be approval to move forward on the contract. It would be a 5-year contract, renewable if both parties agree, and at the budgeted amount that has been allocated by this board in the FY26 budget of $250,000, and that would run through June 30th of 2026.
Thank you, Don, for presenting that matter on the agenda. Discussion of that item, questions for Don about this item or about the process that was used? I will indicate, I don't know whether you mentioned this, but I was part of the interview process. We spent probably 4 or 5 hours with those interviews and then discussion after. The issues that were discussed with each applicant included those areas that they were scored on, and we received remarkable input from some really fine and good firms and good attorneys. Any further discussion? And not seeing any, did you have? No, there hasn't been a motion. I was just going to ask for a motion. Well, the chair would consider a motion on this item, including issuing a contract to Parsons Bailey, according to the terms that are outlined or that have been outlined by Don. Do I hear a motion? Motion is by Senator Stevenson. Do I have a second? second by Mayor Wilson. Discussion on the motion. I think Senator Stevenson, is your light on, or would you like to speak to the motion?
No, I was going to use the mic to make the motion, but we
Okay.
seem to be okay.
All right, I think we have the motion in mind. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. Two quick things. One, I do just want to recognize again Ballard Spar and the great work that they've done. I know you've talked about it before, maybe you're going to say more, but they've just been invaluable, I think, in the time that I've been on the board, getting us to where we are and ensuring that the project has moved forward. So I just appreciate the great work of Ballard Spar. I did just want to raise a conflict of interest on the record that I do have a relative that works with Parsons Bailey. I was not involved in the RFP process. I won't be participating in the vote today, but just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, Representative. And I'd point out for the record that that individual, while listed on the application, our understanding may not have a major significant role in the representation, but we appreciate that disclosure. I'm going to place that motion for a vote. All in favor of retaining the firm Parsons Bailey Latimer with improved contract up to $250,000 annually for 5 years with the option to renew if both parties agree. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously with one member, Representative Tusher, abstaining. Am I correct about that? Yes, okay. Let the record show and reflect that. We are now down to nearly the last item. Item number 13 on the agenda is to consider going into executive discussion session. The board will consider going into closed session pursuant to Utah Code 52.42051A and D to discuss a project proposal and or personnel issue. Chair would entertain a motion to go into executive session. Mayor Wilson making that motion. Do I have a second? Second by Mayor Walker. All in favor of the motion to move into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Now, as I understand it, Dawn, we can simply move across the hall behind me. Am I correct about that? So there's a meeting or a room set up just directly behind us across the hall where we will continue an executive session. The chair would entertain a motion to come back into public.
I'll second.
Made by Mayor Wilson, seconded by Representative Tusher, that we are back in open session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We're back into open. Just as Wes' explanation, after we took that motion, we realized we didn't have anything to discuss in executive session. So we handled the issue on the way out the door, you know. So I let the chair ask for the motion. Final motion. Oh, you want to make a comment? No. Okay.
There are some things going on with Palmsla, MIDA, and Ballpark, all of our land use authorities. And it will have a determination on what we do as far as legislation in the upcoming session. One, I think we're probably going to look at giving Palmsla the opportunity to issue the liquor licenses in the area because of the specific nature of some of the restaurants that will want to be located there. And I think there's been some discussion with Draper City, and I think we're okay with that. The other one will be as far as land transfer from the state of Utah to the authority. I think that will affect more than just Palmsla. I think that's going to affect probably more likely than not, the ballpark district as it matures. And we start looking at that because there's a large parcel of land inside that district that belongs to the state of Utah, that they would probably, some of that would need to transfer in order to complete infrastructure and do some of the things that will be necessary in those areas. So I just wanted everyone to be aware of that's kind of where we're headed with a little bit of legislation this year. Well, I'm sure there will be other things that we will need to add as far as our land use authorities are concerned. They're all the same and yet they're all different. And we have, you look at MITA and you've got almost, it has that military component associated with it. But we also have land use issues there because we work with our National Guard and so forth, and there's property that's owned by the state of Utah and the federal government. It's a fairly complicated issue, and yet the issues that are the same, we're going to try and incorporate into legislation that maybe encompasses all of the land use authorities. And then those that are specific, we'll have to leave specific to the land use authority we are dealing with. So just so you're all aware of that, we would, I'm going to go ahead and proceed forward with opening some bill files and so forth.
Thank you, Senator. Very helpful. Mayor Wilson.
I just want to jump in real quickly and share that each of these land authorities has purpose and I see value. However, I'm kind of a broken record saying every time we do one, what ends up happening is revenue capture that would have gone to the school district, county, cities. And from my perspective, we have to be very intentional. We have to figure out how to backfill it because otherwise what we're doing is just increasing property taxes. And if that's the goal of the legislature, fair enough. But we're running the tooth and taxation methods require either an ongoing cost of living increase every year and a notice, or what we have done at Salt Lake County in the past, we may be shifting, is a fairly significant tax increase every several years. And the yes, efficiencies, I think we've been really good at Salt Lake County to find them. But ultimately that process requires property tax increase. And then the additive, impact of serving residents without the revenue. So it's a tricky thing for us. And I've been more vocal to educate legislators and let everyone know that it really ends up being a shift of the property tax burden to residents ultimately. If there isn't another way to support, the revenue structure. At least that's the case in our county. I know maybe cities have additional sales tax, but ultimately we are more reliant on the property tax and we take a hit.
Thank you, Mayor.
Can I defend that for just a second?
There's some rebuttal here.
Yes.
So,
The land use authorities that we've created to date, I agree with you. They circumvent a process we used to use that created, districts of, had time limits to them. And there was always a big concern over going and getting permission from the school district and so forth to create these areas. What we are finding as we're going through this process is that, for instance, the inland port, those areas are being created on ground that currently has almost zero tax. That's what's happening in Salt Lake County with the area that we have in Salt Lake City that the inland port is using west of the city. Certainly, there has been no tax created. The tax created is zero on the point of the mountain, where because of its former use. I think we'll find the one that may clutter this more than anything would maybe be the ballpark district as it matures. So I think to date, all of these authorities are adding considerably more than because they started out at zero. So if they only create 40 or 50%, most of them, because they're focused on jobs, we don't end up with a lot of issues we dump on school districts and so forth. I've watched this fairly closely, and I believe to date we're way in a plus side as far as the taxes we create, and not only create, but for the communities also that we participate in. So we'll watch that. I think that may still be, the door may be open on that in the future, but to date, we're in a pretty good spot with what we've got.
Thank you, Senator Stevenson, Mayor Walker, and then Mayor Walker, when you finish, I'm going to let you make the last motion.
I appreciate what Mayor to the right said, and also Senator Stevenson, but one of the things we have to keep in mind is in this particular instance, we're gonna have a public safety service component, and I can just tell you, if you're, and I know you know this, public safety has probably increased more than any other public, municipal service. When a fire truck used to cost me 400,000, that same fire truck is 2 million. I mean, and that's just the reality of it. And then a firefighter used to cost you X, and now a firefighter costs you. It's just a different. It's unlike it's ever been. We compete with each other for officers, firefighters, paramedics, and the pay just keeps going. But the equipment's insanely expensive. Takes a couple of years to get a fire truck. So when you hear us municipal guys saying, hey, it's going to take money to serve it, it is going to. And I don't think at the beginning of this, it's going to be a huge amount of public safety commitment, but you get 7,000-8,000 people living there and it will.
Sure.
Yeah. Motion to adjourn.
Final motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second by Senator Stevenson. All in favor of the motion, say aye. We stand adjourned.